Good afternoon, Marshall community. Welcome to our town hall meeting. So pleased to be here. We've held these meetings at Blair, Muir, PHS, and Marshall, but we have cameras today, so hopefully I'm not used to being on camera, but I'll just pretend they're not there. My name is Marissa Sarian. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education, and I've been part of the committee that's really looked at graduation requirements with our principals, with our counselors, with all of our stakeholders, many different revisions, and some of the requirements were revisited over and over again in subcommittees, so I'm not sure if any of you have participated in the process, but I wanted to briefly talk about, I have a handout for you with all of the requirements. I know that some of the questions and anxieties might have been heightened because we had a few requirements added on, but as you know, the CTE and health requirement are actually postponed to the class of 2021 now, and so the only ones that we can focus on today, we're here for the graduate defense requirement, but if you have some questions afterwards about the community service hours or other requirements, I'll be glad to answer to the best of my ability. So I'll be talking about the overview and the why we did this and what the requirement is, and then Ms. Rizzo and Ms. Scribner, Dr. Anderson will answer specific questions from Marshall because each school is approaching it a little differently. So basically our graduation requirements, let's see if this, Sarah. So I've included the letter that hopefully you all received back in November or December. And I've also included the board policy that is currently, we are making slight revisions to the CTE requirement, but I've included the latest draft, which should be approved in the next couple of weeks. But I wanted to point to all the requirements for high school, so it's delineated in detail here, but I wanted to point to page 3, where we've made some slight changes for what we call a CTE requirement. So as you know, at Marshall, we don't have a lot of CTE offerings. That's career technical education. There's one academy at Marshall. Other schools have multiple academies. So you have the Academy of Creative Industries, which is a very robust and wonderful academy. But there's one. And then other than American Sign Language and the graphic arts class, there aren't a lot of CTE offerings. So we went back and looked at the state dashboard on the college and career readiness indicators and noted, the skills that students need to be career ready. So college readiness and career readiness really map nicely to one another. It's basically the same skill set, but there's the application of some of these skills in the real world and in the workplace that we need to capture. So we looked at some of the other things we require of our students or some of the other coursework that could contribute to the same skill set. So what you see on page 3 is kind of an extended definition of how students can meet the CTE requirements. So if they have a job, if they are in an IB diploma course, if they're in the capstone, the AP capstone course, if they take a financial literacy course on Acellus, which is an online platform, if they complete a compensated internship, so you don't have to be in an academy to apply for an internship in the summer. If you do some type of industry certification, or the best part is to earn or C or better in an advanced art class or in advanced language courses, because that mirrors some of what our students do in the advanced CTE courses that they take. So we feel like the advanced music courses, it's an actual skill and the students actually go and perform at gigs, and so there's a lot of, it's the same skill sets that some of our CTE teachers work on, and many industry professionals are part of those spaces. Same with language. American Sign Language is a CTE course, so we felt like a third year of Spanish and beyond really needs to also meet the same requirement, just to have these parallel types of requirements.
What is the AP capstone?
So So that's Advanced Placement Capstone course, which is only offered at Marshall. And Dr. Anderson can explain. Ms. Rizzo.
So our capstone is a new class that started this year. It's going to be a one-year research. Well, first is the seminar, which is the students explore a topic that they of their own choice. The teacher guides them, but it's really, the kids have a lot of freedom in doing their own research. It's sort of like a mini thesis, and then in 12th grade they will do the research piece. So it gets them prepared, it prepares them for college. So as you know, we do that in college. We have to be ready to write and be able to research and have the guidelines of how to do that. So this is our first year offering it, and we have 31 students in the class.
So you mean it is for seniors?
11th graders start, and then they go senior year to the research. So they have to be in 11th grade to do the seminar.
Oh, okay.
So they start in 11th grade, and then as a senior, they do the research.
So is it
it's a 2-year.
each year?
No, it's 1 year for the seminar and 1 year for the research.
Oh, okay.
So 11th grade and 12th grade.
Okay.
And if they pass both AP exams, there's an AP exam their junior year and AP exam their senior year, plus 4 additional AP exams, they get the capstone diploma, which is the highest diploma the College Board offers.
So it really sets our students apart from other college applicants, and really it's a different kind of level of preparedness. It's recognized by colleges. I mean, like Dr. Anderson said, it's like the highest level of achievement when it comes to College Board and AP exams. Okay, so basically tonight we're here to talk about the graduate defense requirement, and I have a very simple PowerPoint that I'll go through quickly, and then I'll go more in depth. So basically, we want our students, to showcase and to really master all of the skills we've outlined in the graduate profile. So we had over 800 stakeholders who gave us input on what we expect of our graduates. Dr. Anderson, do you have a copy of the graduate profile? So we have copies in the office that we can provide. So basically, students have to master the 4 C's: collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking. They have to be college and career ready, and we want them to be culturally competent citizens and to have healthy minds and bodies. So when we looked at our graduate profile, we also looked at our graduation requirements, which is graduation requirements are really the floor. They're not the ceiling. So what we want minimally for every graduate before they leave us, because we are now responsible for how well our students do after they leave us. So just to say we got them to the foot of the college, or they graduated and they left, that's not good enough. So we want to make sure that when they leave our K-12 system that they're able to succeed in post-secondary endeavors, in college, and career in life. So that's what the graduate profile is designed to do. So when we looked at our graduate profile, we noticed that we don't have a requirement in place as far as graduation requirement. Not that it wasn't happening in classrooms, because I think it was. The creativity component. So we know that creativity is a skill that's taught, and we wanted to make sure we measured it to make sure that every student had an opportunity to express their creativity, and for us to assess whether or not they had that innovation and innovative thinking. So there are lots of ways students can demonstrate creativity. The easiest way, I mean, there's a real robust offering here at Marshall, but it could possibly be in a Spanish class. Perhaps they created a pamphlet to advocate for something that they translated into Spanish. So it can have many different forms. It could be from a science course where they did an inquiry project, or maybe it was a lab, or some type of, creative. It could be in any course. So it's just a creativity project. So that's one item they need to have for their defense. The second one is a research paper. So the research paper, I know that, and we'll talk about Marshall specifically, but we want to make sure that our students know how to, and this is not to say that it wasn't happening before, but we want to make sure it's happening for every student, and that we are assessing these skills with a uniform rubric. So we want all of our students to leave graduating from PUSD having written a 6 to 8 page research paper. We want them to be able to cite sources properly. We want them to be able to make an argument. So I'll be able to send you the rubrics if you want. I only have the presentation rubric attached to I already killed a lot of trees, so I wanted to minimize that. But so those are the two artifacts. What's the first one? Creativity. And the second one? Research paper. So once students have those two items, what they do is they reflect on their 4-year journey, because they're seniors by the time they do this. So they write a reflective essay. That's about two or 3 pages. They think about their journey, and at Marshall it could be from 6th grade on, but it's really we're focusing on high school. They're learning. They can talk about the 2 artifacts that they've included, the creativity and the research project, and then they do a presentation in front of a panel of 3. The 3 panelists are going to be community members, business partners, some of their teachers, and it could include parents. We ask it to be parents who don't have a student in that grade level. So nobody from class of 2019 can be a panelist next year, but you could be a panelist the following year.
Can they discuss the selection of the research topic and the creative piece with?
So they curate, they select the work on their own. So part of the growth that we want our students to experience is really owning this portfolio and really showcasing what they value. The only requirement is for those 2 pieces to be graded or scored with a common rubric. And we have these 4 common rubrics, 1 for creativity, 1 for research, 1 for the reflection paper, and 1 for the presentation. So that's the only requirement. But I hear your questions. So I think the reflection paper will probably be written in the senior English class. I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out, but that's usually where it's done. And then the presentations are scheduled during the school day. So different schools have a different schedule for that. So going through this, so this is created for students. So students, you have work that you're proud of. Yes, you do. And work that you could do a little better, right? But from every experience, you have the opportunity to learn. So this is about the process. It's also about the product. At first we said the students wanted the rubrics to be met standards or resubmit. They didn't want it to be complicated. We talked to the ASB students, all of the student leadership on all campuses while this requirement was being talked about. And they said, just doing it is going to be the learning. So at first we weren't too worried about the quality, but now because it's such a public event, so to meet the requirement, it's not a very high standard. You'll see, the rubric, there are specific skills that we're measuring, but we want the product to be as good as it can be because we have a lot of community members. But it's really the learning and the process the student goes through. That's what the purpose is. So if they have, our 11th graders might not have as many things in their portfolio to choose from, but maybe at Marshall they do. So that's what I was hearing. I think we need to take out the word portfolio because it was making people nervous. They just need 2 artifacts. If they don't have 15 things to choose from, they can still do the requirement. But again, it's a research paper and an assignment that shows creativity. They both have to be scored with a common rubric. And then when they prepare the presentation, it doesn't have to be a PowerPoint like mine. It can be done in any way. It can be a painting that represents their journey through high school, and the artifacts, the major learning. It can be a poem, it can be a song, so it can be, but I don't want to add pressure. So the way they present can also be more creative than I am today. And the reflection, this is a huge piece. We're having our 8th graders now do this reflection essay. although we're not requiring specific artifacts, because we feel like, kind of learning from your journey, having our middle schoolers reflect on what they've done from 6th through 8th grade, and then our high schoolers, 9th through 12th, and their readiness for the next steps, and just the reflection piece. I don't think, we do enough of that. So, and then they're going to be presenting. The presentation rubric is the last page of your handout. So as you can see, it's a 2-point rubric. So a lot of teachers, they're used to, and students also, like a four-point rubric, and to grade. Really the purpose of this is to see, did they meet these, did they demonstrate these skills? And if they didn't, we have them resubmit. Just to lower your anxiety, I wanted to, in case you're anxious, I wanted to let you know that actually I've been speaking to a lot of people up and down the state. I mean, this type of requirement is prevalent in many, many districts. It's usually part of the requirement of a course during the senior year, but we've actually made it a separate requirement because we feel it's the responsibility of every adult, including us at the district office, to make sure this happened, not just the English teacher or not just the government teacher. So, but we know that some students might need to resubmit, and even if we start offering these opportunities for students to defend in October, in April, in May, there might be some who might need more targeted intervention or more assistance. So as long as a student attempts to defend at least once, what the state all these great professors from Stanford and others are saying is to allow the students to walk and participate in the graduation ceremony, and then to provide the assistance in the summer before we hand them the diploma. So this is the one requirement. As long as they attempt it, they are going to be able to participate. And that's it. Once you do this, so again, what are the 2 artifacts?
Research.
That's it. And then what do? Reflect and
Present.
that's it. So it's 4 rubrics. I have another PowerPoint. Our reflection rubric was just revised. We need a lot of eyes on it to make sure it's ready for prime time. But we can send it out. It will be posted on the PUSD website, all of the rubrics and more detailed information than this PowerPoint, in case people want more detailed information. So when I was at the other schools, some of the questions I was asked included, like, some of our students are part of Girl Scouts and they might be doing a project. Could that be used? Absolutely. As long as there's a research component and it meets our research criteria and they get any of us educators to really score it with that common rubric, and it's, it meets the standards and there's a creativity component. It could be a project on their own. Like if I really love marine biology, then I could focus on that, and then my reflection would be, although I had, I have done a research paper in my history class, and I did one for the school-wide project, but this is something I was really passionate about, so I have chosen this, and my research skills are demonstrated in this paper, which you have in front of you. My creativity came through when I actually did advocacy and for, whatever it is. And, now I feel like I'm ready, and, for college, I've decided to major in, marine biology, and this is so that's the reflection paper. And what they write in the reflection paper is also kind of what they share in the presentation. What we're doing for the panelists, we're going to have like a 1-hour mini training for our panelists. It's not going to be a training. They're going to watch a presentation, and we're going to calibrate using the rubric. So we're going to start the process of creating this large database. We already have these advisory boards for all of our academies, over 200 people. Again, parents, we want parents to be part of it. You can't have a student in that grade level. So we'll go through a process to kind of have certified panelists, which means you've just been part of that hour-long process of watching watching a presentation and calibrating to make sure we're scoring it the same way. Okay? That's my part. Yes?
For the presentation, using travel experiences or summer enrichment programs.
Absolutely.
The student participated, would that be something they?
Absolutely, and I think, the more they can tie it to the graduate profile, so if they've, like I said, these are the skills we're trying to get to. So these external and internal values, culturally competent citizens, so you could beautifully, so in your reflection paper, you can talk about how, this is what PUSD expects of graduates, and really I'm able to do some of this. So I'm a contributing member of society. I understand my own and others' cultural heritage. I know how to engage in a diverse world, so they can actually cite some of the language from the graduate profile. Yeah, so you don't have to do extra work, but you could if you wanted to. The students who are in our academies, they have to do a senior project. We just need to make sure all of them do the research paper that's kind of robust and meets our criteria, and then that their creativity is scored with our rubric.
Could you give me some examples of research topics that the kids could undertake? It's a little unclear to me. How long does that research paper have to be?
So it's 6 to 8 pages, but it includes the bibliography and everything. So I'll be glad to email you the rubric, and that's what I'm saying. We have one that we're refining. That's why I didn't bring all the copies. But maybe Ms. Scribner, you can talk about the research paper and what some of the students have chosen. And
Yeah, so the topic really is up to the student, and they've already done it in one of their classes usually. So I do have some kids who decided that, so I'm working, just to tell you, I'm the site coordinator here at Marshall, and I have some students that I'm already working with. I have 3 students who've already gone through the whole process. So the idea was to get kids who knew how to do it, who knew how to select and what kinds of things that people are looking for, and then to go through the whole process of defending. Now we have a cohort of 35 who are 11th graders this year. They're going through the process with me. Some are actually going to be presenting and defending on Friday. And then, so these students who are going through it and have already been through it, next year are going to be the coaches for the students who are doing it then. So, and they're going to, they've got it. They already, feel like it didn't take very long for them to get a handle on it. But in terms of the research paper, I have students doing, one of my students, Samantha, is working on dying languages. It could be science, it could be math. It's just really up to the student. The goal isn't to check the content so much. We want the content to be good, but it's to make sure they have that skill, that they can find quality resources, they can write a good essay, they know how to do the citations, so that they're ready for the college level work. So it's really about, that they understand the format and that it's a topic that they care about, and that it shows that they've gone through a learning process while writing that paper. So yeah.
So it could also be the school-wide project. Did you want to?
I was going to jump in and say we have somewhat started training our students for research papers from 6th grade all the way to 8th grade. I'm sure all of you guys are aware of our yearly school project. This year was focused on waste management. So the students were given the topic, but the great thing about the graduate portfolio is they get to pick whatever they want. We're not going to assign them. They can be as free as they want to be. And really what we want them to do, as Dr. Sara says, reflect and really know the process of writing
a good paper. We're trying to prepare them for the next level. But we are training them. We are starting to do the small project assignments in the classrooms to sort of give them an idea. Another thing is in the seminar class, the capstone seminar, that's what they're doing in that class. So those students are ahead of the game. They're already knowing, the steps of how to get the research done.
I'm sure they will be writing papers in their US history class, so they could take an assignment already done in a class, whether it's the school-wide project or something they write for US history or a topic of their choosing. So they could choose to, and we know that our teachers are eventually going to be assigning these research papers that won't need a lot of beefing up. So
So if there's one research paper they already started in a class, they could just grow that one or go, or they could start a brand new one of their choice. I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yes, so here in Marshall you have that coaching setup, right? I'm not quite sure for other high schools. We're at PHS. And is it something that you do separately, like you have a separate period for
The school projects?
or do they just do it on their own in their own time?
The research or the project that we,
Everything.
The whole defense.
the whole defense? So the defense, this is going to be our first year, so we're starting to get them ready. So as Ms. Scribner said, we have a cohort of 35. Last year we had 3. Ms. Scribner coached them, met with them, and sort of
And they were 10th graders.
And they were 10th graders. They presented, and then now they're serving as our leaders and coaching students. So we meet with the 35 students, I say twice a month, to see where they are and guide them. So then they're going to be our cohort to guide the rest of the 11th graders.
There will be no.
But we don't have a special period or a special time where we're going to set aside to just coach for the graduate performance.
I'm not sure what's happening at PHS. They have an advisory period that, you don't have
we
at
don't have
Marshall.
here.
So it could possibly happen in the advisory period.
So when you get them together, you can check progress at that.
Correct.
And make sure that they're
Yes.
where they need to be.
And they have questions, and they also stop by and clarify. And so, and then our teachers are aware. We also had a meeting last week with about 25 teachers who are going to help us serve on the panel. And they're aware of the requirements, and they're also going to serve students as coaches as kids need it. Yes, I'm sorry.
So next year, when it's everybody, like all the seniors, how again logistically does that work?
So we're going to offer, we've been thinking and, mapping out and thinking of how we could get it done. So we're going to offer students to present in the fall and in the winter and in the spring.
When?
We don't have the time set, the actual month and day.
So you'll just like have a period
But
of
we'll-
time that kids
we'll-
can sign up and they'll
Correct.
class.
We'll have them choose the when they want to present.
Okay.
And of course, we'll give them enough time to decide,
And you're saying you're mentoring the 35 this year?
to help us.
Right, so now when it's everybody, when does that mentoring happen?
It's going to start happening next year.
Correct,
We're-
but when?
They want to know like,
Beginning, what time of the day?
How does it work? School?
Oh, well, we're going to probably pull them in cohorts like we did with this group. So if we have students sign up for the fall, we'll begin with those students and sort of start working with those students and pulling them in and seeing where they are. As they complete, then we'll move on to the ones that want to present in the winter and the spring. So we'll do it in groups.
So the beginning of the year, someone might sign up to do it in
Correct,
October.
correct.
And then you'll take that group and try to mentor
Correct,
them
start,
the process
and with our
then
students.
present and move on to the next one.
And as mentioned, there are also 25 faculty members who are available. It's not just Ms. Scribner and Ms. Rizzo anymore.
So we're sort of, we want to divide them in small groups, and so that will help us. And the students that Ms. Scribner's been going into the classrooms and presenting to the students, they seem to be aware. If you want to.
Yeah, they're aware. And I will just say that the actual amount, I understand the concern about how much time is this going to take? Our kids are busy. But let me just say that the amount, since it's work that they already have, they take their artifacts, they do a little reflection. It does not take long. And then the main thing that takes, a few hours is putting together the actual presentation. But it's not like they're creating things from scratch. They're just going back and looking at what they've done, thinking about how they've grown and how they've progressed. And so it really doesn't take a lot of hours. So if that helps at all. And we're going to make sure that they're coming in and getting checked, and that they're working with the students who have already gone through it. But in terms of time commitment, aside from the putting together the presentation, depending on how creative they want to get, and then it really doesn't take that much time to put it all together.
I understand.
I was concerned about it too at first.
Because our student's part of that, your cohort.
Oh, who is it?
Ian Cox.
Oh, okay.
You know, he seems to be in control of it. He seems to understand the process. We think he's on schedule with it all.
Right.
But, getting information at him.
Well, and let me just, okay.
Because he's got it.
Yes, he's,
So let me just also tell you that what I have the students doing is we have an e-portfolio on a site called Power School Learning. All of the students in the cohorts and next year are uploading their work as they go. So for Ian, I'm going to be checking his work and I can see exactly what he's done. So if he's missing a piece, then I'll be talking to him. So I can view all their work because they're uploading it as they go. So yeah, and the other kids are wonderful. I'm pretty amazed at how well they've described the whole process and trained them and walked them through it. I mean, they're really good.
we're amazed also of how little coaching they're needing.
Yeah.
And we're observing and we're letting the students sort of lead them because they tend to work better with students. And just, there's not a lot of coaching yet. I'm sure all students are different, but so far, they're doing great. We're really impressed.
And really,
So Ian's doing great, and he'll be coaching next year.
Yeah.
and I think, the opportunity for them to receive immediate feedback after the presentation from these community members and business partners is going to be huge. That's another piece of the experience that is really priceless.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
For clarification, because my son doesn't say much ever, except, I know
I have
what to do. I came tonight just to go home and say, you tell me what you think. But I just want to clear it in my head. So this portfolio is made up of, the research is roughly 6 pages. That's
Yes.
It's already probably written in
6
class.
to 8. So.
Okay. The artifacts are things he brings in or puts in his presentation to show you all. The artifacts are
It's in his
The artifacts
presentation,
are the research paper and the creativity project.
which is the presentation, part of the
It's
presentation.
like evidence or artifact, we don't know what to call
He's a
it.
musician, he can put a
Correct.
video of himself playing. So
Right, or he could
Or he could
perform in front of
You'd
us.
have to go to the drummer because he's the drummer.
We will.
I know my
Yes,
videos,
that's
he would have to
perfect.
play the drum.
Yes, it would be the video and then the rubric with that the teacher scored him on his performance.
Reflection is a separately written paper
Correct.
on the whole process.
The whole thing. So they've selected everything, they've looked at it, they've thought about it, they've reflected on their artifacts, and so they've had all this scaffolding. They've had all these questions asked. Why did you choose this artifact? How do you think you grew? What skills did you develop? And then they do this overall reflection on it, but they've already done the thinking. So it's really, I have examples for them. That's really the reflection bit. By the time they get to that part, they've already done the hard work to get there.
How long is that paper?
That one is
3
3 pages, yeah.
About 3?
Like 2 to 3.
2.5.
Because by the time you talk about everything, that's 3 pages already.
And then that helps them do the presentation because they do the reflection and then they get up there to present and they've already thought it through and gotten this big picture, sort of look back at everything they've done. And so it makes it much easier for them to create their presentation. So I always ask them, do the reflection first, do the figure out the presentation later.
And when they go to the presentation, they actually bring their portfolio or whatever you want to call it. It actually includes the 2 artifacts, the research paper, the creativity, and the reflection paper, so that the panelists can look and see, what the topics were. Or there's a 5-minute question and answer section. So if it's a topic of interest to them, they can actually ask them questions about, their research project or their performance. So the panelists, don't only ask about,
Correct.
the actual growth over time or what they've reflected on, they could possibly ask them about their projects.
Yes,
So the creativity part of it could be a performance.
correct.
Absolutely.
They have complete freedom to whatever they
Thank
want.
you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah,
They
just
want
to
to
give-
perform or PowerPoint, sing, visual, whatever, an art piece.
We have a student with a question.
Yes.
You have to turn the computer off.
Oh, okay, thank you very
Okay.
much, son.
But I can turn it off.
We can turn it off. How about if we turn it off?
You can turn it off.
Should we bring up can we bring the presentation rubric or the
Yes, I'm sorry.
research? It's part of my PowerPoint, the other PowerPoint.
Right now? Yeah. Right now, it varies. We check in with the students and see what works for them. Okay. And we pull them out. We have pulled them out in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon.
So if they have other activities.
Correct, correct. So when we meet with them, we ask, we're going to meet again this day. What time works best for you? And they agree together.
Can you make it bigger?
Due date, my son's in 11th grade right now, like when would he present?
So he'll have a choice. Once we finish this year, next year we'll give students a choice to present in the fall, in the winter, or in the spring.
So he will be able to pick or you assign?
He'll pick.
He'll pick?
We want them to pick.
Oh, we know which season.
What season will he pick?
The month before graduation.
So,
I have a student at PHS, and what you're talking about specifically right now is geared to Marshall, correct?
correct.
So who is the site manager or who is responsible for the organization at PHS? Do you know that specific person? Because there should be one.
Yes, so
Librarian.
at every site, it's our librarian and one of our assistant principals. At PHS, we've had a change in librarian and the assistant principal. So Mr. Hernandez himself is very involved right now.
Okay.
I actually went to the faculty meeting yesterday to make sure. I know there's a little more trepidation at PHS because,
Yes, we've not heard very much about this at all.
yeah,
So
we're working.
are they planning to have a presentation like this at PHS before the school year is out? Do you know?
We did, yes.
Yes, I presented on, we had actually 200 parents at the town hall at PHS, the Thursday before break, yes.
Okay.
But I think, the work needs to probably happen with the faculty. So we're really working, and I might need to provide more differentiated support, or maybe I need to meet with the US history teachers to make sure at least there's one solid research project for them. So I think I have to differentiate my support possibly for them because it's also our largest high school.
Yes.
But half of the students at PHS are already part of academies and they have a senior project that meets
Sure,
this
but no
requirement.
research paper.
Well, all of them are adding a research component to meet this requirement. So if they're, yes, so if your child is in an academy, it's going to be embedded in what
But there will be, do you know if there will be research papers required in junior or senior year in science or in math or in English?
So I think, we've left it up to each site and each department to select which of these 4 skills they want to practice. So not very many of our grade levels or departments have chosen research right now. So that's kind of the refinement we need to look on. A lot of people are practicing the writing skills, the reflection skills, the creativity, the presentation skills. So we just need more opportunities to teach research and produce research papers.
It's hard.
Yes. But it's absolutely a critical skill. I mean, just imagine how confident our students are going to be in that freshman English class, right?
Yes?
What about our special ed students?
So we are also, you want to speak?
Yeah, we're working with special ed students also. So there's a couple of students. And we have one ELD student and one student who's in special ed in this cohort that I'm working with now. And so, and so he's sort of, those students are the pilots helping me figure out how I can scaffold the experience for them. Obviously, it's gonna be the same artifacts that they need to have, but say the research paper, they'll have something, but it might not be as long.
It'll be modified.
They're still gonna get what they need, and they're still gonna be able to, they're gonna have the artifacts that they need, but the actual products that they have may be a little different. And I'm working with the teachers right now on that. So they know that it's coming, and we have at least one on the panel of teachers that we're working with now. We have one special ed teacher that we're working with and one ELD teacher on the current teacher panel, so that we're training those teachers and they can go spread the word among their colleagues.
And you know, so the IEP, whatever accommodations or modifications, we have to, you know, we have to make sure we have those accommodations in place. And we've even thought about having a specialized panel or something less threatening. Or so we are here to set students up for success. We are not doing this to terrify them or create more anxiety. So they're going to be set up for success. Remember, it's the process that's the learning is in the process. So we need to make this a rewarding and beneficial process for all of our students.
Yes?
Any questions from this side of the room?
We have been very clear.
My son, he's in 11th grade.
Yes.
In PHS.
Uh-huh.
And he say nobody mentioned nothing about this thing over there in PHS.
I'm going to work harder to make sure, you know, we support our students at PHS. Okay. My apologies.
Sorry, it comes out.
You said the rubrics are available on the PUSD?
They're going to be, right? The
Yes,
rubrics are-
so this is the PowerPoint I'm going to post. We can send it to you right now, whoever's signed in. But the reflection rubric, here's the creativity and innovation. The written, and you already have the presentation one. This is the one we're refining. So once this is finalized, probably by the end of the week, it will be on the PUSD website. But we can send this out to you. And there's more detailed justifications. So going back, this is harder to this way. I wanted to show you the options. So these are the options that I described. So if somebody wanted to do a separate project, something they're doing with either their academy or with Girl Scouts or something they do on their own at home, so they can select a new topic during their senior year that incorporates all the requirements, or they can select their best work from assignments they've already completed in class. And I know this is happening at PHS too. Maybe it's just not clear, you know, so students are doing these assignments. We just need to make sure they're scored with a common rubric and they understand that it's kind of uploaded. So I think, you know, that's by the end of the year, I'm sure they're going to all have a research paper and they're going to know where it's stored. So we'll work on that. Dr. Anderson, do you want to add something?
No?
No? Are you sure?
Troublemaker parents here, so.
So I love this slide just to close. The reason for this requirement is to measure students' ability to reflect on and refine their learning. We want to encourage them to take ownership of their work. We want them to show evidence of their ability to create original work that demonstrate thoughtful research and reflective approaches. We want to communicate information, and we want them to present effectively in multiple formats, and we want them to experience success, and we want to celebrate their growth. So this is why we're doing this.
Well, no, I do want to say.
You want to say something, yes.
Well, yeah, sorry.
I knew it. I'll take that from you.
Well, I thought, wait, I'll take that.
Does he need a mic?
All your students at Marshall, you will have, I'll throw it out. All your students at Marshall, they will do a research paper in their class. before they get to this, so that's not a problem. They will also do presentations in their class, so that's also not a problem. So they will be well prepared to do it. The process, the logistics, Ms. Morris is like, what time of day are they going to be called out and those things? We don't know those things yet. That's the process, but Ms. Scribner and Ms. Rizzo, they're very capable and they'll figure it out as they go through. And for those that are going through the pilot program, the first 3 kids took a long time, the next 35. We're hoping to learn from that so we make it as smooth and it's an easy process for everyone. So at the end of the day, it's not hard for the kid to get up and to do the presentation. They'll have everything that they need, and it's just a confirmation of the work that they've been doing at Marshall. So we've been good about getting that information out. It's funny, all the real people that don't know stuff is from PHS. Sorry, should come to Marshall. I'm just kidding. But there's a reason we're the best friend school. I know, I have so much shade in me. Except for one we love the best. So you guys, and we just need your help too. If something's going well with the kids or not going well, give us the feedback so that way as we go through and we expand it out to next year to all the kids and we start bringing after 2019, 2020, etc., we're able to do a better job of it and to make it, because it should be something that, they should have a little bit of fear, enough to have a little bit of respect to try hard, but it shouldn't be something that they're so anxious about that they can't get up in the morning to do. So that's all. I just want to make sure, because we are doing a lot of work for it to make sure we're prepared. So thank you very much. Thank you guys for coming. We'll stay down here if you guys have any questions.